And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight's guest, we're going to be joined by Lynn. Lynn is from Scotland. She reached out to me a while back and said that she had witnessed a dragon in the sky. It's not something you hear about too often, so I definitely wanted to talk with her. We got something set up for this. But before we bring her on, if you've ever had an experience and you would like to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tales, there's a couple things you can do. You can send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Just make sure to get a message to me. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. I am booked out pretty far, so just know that it will take a while to get on here, but we will definitely get something set up with you. If you'd like to help the podcast out, please continue to share it around. Word of mouth helps the podcast grow. And every time it continues to find a new listener, there's a potential new guest out there wanting to come on the show too. So just know that by doing that, you're helping me out and you're helping everyone else out too. You can also help out the show by leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to Tinfoil Tales at. Just click the 5-star rating and it makes the podcast more discoverable. If you're like me and you cannot stand hearing a bunch of ads, there's a way to help out the podcast that doesn't have to affect your listening experience. You can become a member of the Patreon. For $1.99 a month, you get early access to all the episodes, and they're all ad-free. You also get exclusive content. There is a free membership, too, if you want to try it out. Make sure to head to the show notes and find more information about the Patreon. You can also find more information by following me on all the social medias. But we're going to go ahead now and bring Lynn on and dive on into this story about the dragon. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Lynn. Thanks for staying up late here tonight and talking to me.
Hiya, Brendan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Well, not too bad. Yeah, we're still awake here. Yeah.
About a 5-hour difference. So last night I interviewed someone from the UK, and
Yeah.
you're in Ireland, I believe, right?
Wow. We're just across the water, Scotland.
Scotland, okay. But yeah, it's I'm not good on geography, I guess. I just know it's somewhere over there. Would you like to let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah. So I'm 52. I'm an ex hairdresser. But I was a hairdresser for 30 years. And then my last job, I had a nervous breakdown, and my last job was a key worker working with autistic adults that couldn't talk. And while I was working, I got ill from the test that we all had to do at work. And anyway, my story goes back a bit further than that. But the last few years, I've been looking into a lot of things, and I think I've been delving back into my memory, and yeah, it's about time we started talking about some things that some of us notice and not all of us do. It's quite interesting, yeah.
If you're ready to talk about it, like I'm ready whenever you want to.
Okay, so if I can jog my memory, so in 2016, I was living in a place called Camborne, and I was in like temporary accommodation. Me and a fellow roommate got offered go and move into another village actually called Four Lanes. This is in Cornwall in the UK, and we'd only been there a few weeks, and I was with my friend Jake, and we'd gone for an evening walk. And this actual place, Four Lanes, it's actually in a valley in Cornwall. Um, and I think it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I know that it wasn't long after I moved there, so I would say it was in September, between September and October. So it was like an early autumn evening, and we got nearly to where we were going, and all of a sudden the weather changed, and the sky went like a really bright pink color, pastel pink, but it was quite luminous. And I remember saying to him, "Oh, the skies are a really weird color. It feels electric." And then the wind started getting up a little bit as well, and then it started spitting rain, and there was some thunder, and we looked up, and there was like a gap in the clouds. If you can imagine, the clouds were very pale, and they were swirling almost. But I could see this gap in the sky, and I looked up, and I said to him, "What the hell is that flying up there?" And we both just stood there for about, I don't know, it seemed like an eternity. It was probably only about 20 seconds. And we both looked up and I said, "That's a dragon."
Hmm.
And he went, "It is, isn't it?" And I was like, "No way." And it just swelled a bit more. And the only reason I knew definitely that I can't even, I couldn't even believe my own eyes. But I was thinking in my head, I was having an inner dialogue saying, "Is that a dragon? Is that a bird? What is that?" Because I'm a bird watcher. I always have been since I was a child with my father. And I was thinking to myself, that's like no bird I've seen. Its wings were jaggedy and it flew through this little gap and the clouds moved in such a way I could see it and it was like swirling upwards and the way it moved was not like a bird. It kind of made a figure 8 movement and it had a tail. That's how we both said to each other after. It had a tail. That's why we both knew that we'd definitely seen a dragon. And then we were both like, no, we didn't just see a dragon. And it was then we just headed on home because it was thundering and I kept looking back to see if I could see it again. And no, I didn't. But I remember going home and we talked about it after and I was like, I feel like I'm going mad. But we were totally sober and it was just, I don't know. But then I've looked into it since. You need to interject and say anything?
No, you're good. I was going to ask before, I didn't want to interrupt, but about how big do you think it was? I know you said it was pretty high in the air, but if you had to guess,
Right.
how big do you think it was?
So I'm looking at the bird. Obviously, its wings were in such a way, they were jaggedy shaped, yeah.
Hmm.
So I thought, is that a heron? And I thought to myself, no, that's not a heron. But obviously, this is all going on in my inner dialogue while I've got that 20-second window. And I remember thinking, it's not a heron in the rain. It's definitely not. It was, I would say it was about as big as a car, a small car, maybe longer, but not any bigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, maybe
Mm.
15 feet, roughly, something like that.
Yeah, definitely twice the size of any big bird I've ever seen. I've seen some big birds. I've seen an eagle owl before, you know, sparrowhawk in
So
real life.
I don't
Um,
know what type of birds would be over that way that'd be super large. I know here some of the biggest
oh,
birds we have are like condors, but they're still not nearly
yeah,
that big.
I think we do have cormorants, but I mean, you wouldn't, I don't think you would get one singularly in the mountains. Well, I
Right.
wouldn't call it mountains, but it's very hilly in Cornwall, especially in that area. And then I think over the years, I've I've looked into some different things, and I think I don't know. Do I want to get all conspiracy about it and say it's because of I think it's because it's the highest ley line in Cornwall, if not the whole of the UK. I'm not sure about that, to be fair. But I wonder if there's any connection. And then I was wondering, did we really see that? Was that part of Project Bluebeam?
That is
Or was
what
it a whole?
there is some ideas that I've got that I don't know if obviously they found dinosaur bones or whatever. And a lot of mythologies they have dragons in the mythology, but like there's
Yeah.
never been anything that has ever said dragons were real. But when you mentioned
Mm,
Project Bluebeam, I've heard a
yeah.
lot of people talk about that recently, but I can't see why they would be what would be the point of them having a random it has to be projected somewhere. Something has to be projected. It has to reflect off something, I would think. So
Yeah.
unless they were just testing it, but chances are, and this may sound out there for a lot of people, a lot of
Yeah.
lately I've heard people talk about time slips. I've had a few people on my show mention time slips and
Yeah. Like portals, even.
right. And maybe what you saw was something from a different time, maybe a different plane of existence, kind of
Yeah.
bled into our world. There's all sorts of
Mm,
possibilities, and I don't think anyone has any real definitive answers, especially I never seen anything, so I can't give you an answer. But I don't, like I said, I haven't talked to anyone that had seen anything like that yet. So that's really why I want to talk with you about because when someone says they've seen a dragon, I'm like, oh, I want to hear
yeah.
about that because
Yeah.
you don't hear that too often these days.
Well, and then since I've obviously because you get this bird of mine off when you talk about something with someone, you then find that every so often this thing will come up and you'll find lots more information. And so like since then I've been finding lots of things out about dragons. I mean, don't you think it's weird in this country in particular that we do have dragons everywhere? In Wales, we've got them all over the walls of the churches, and uh, I don't know. I think there's more to it. I really do.
What made
Yeah.
them want to start putting dragons on everything? Where did the whole lore of
Yeah.
dragons originate from? Something had to have influenced them to start that.
Well, should we get into the conspiracy of maybe it's you were just saying about time slips. Maybe when they visit us in this dimension, they appear that way, and they're the draconians, perhaps visiting the Dracos. Maybe they take a dragon form.
That
Or is it too far out?
no, that's definitely kind of normal for my show. If you go that route
Yeah.
with the draconians, then there is a good possibility that these things are
And as well,
interdimensional, extraterrestrial. Like there's all sorts of possibilities because for so many years and so many stories, you always hear about these reptilian type figures. And
yeah, they call them Dracos, don't they?
yeah, and
Some of them.
some of them are called Draco, some are like reptilian, some are called I forget all the names of them, but there's all sorts of different races of them, and a lot of people think they're extraterrestrials. Some people claim they're demons. Some people say that they're interdimensionals. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone has a real idea of what they are, but throughout history, there's been reports of these things too. So
Actually, what year are we in the Chinese year? Are we in Year of the Dragon?
I have no idea about any of that
Oh,
stuff.
it'd be funny if we were. But
I
I
thought
think,
someone recently said we were in the year of the pig, but I don't know.
oh, really? I don't know.
I don't.
Flying pig, flying dragons.
I guess I could look it up for you real quick. I'm not sure what your Chinese
Yeah.
calendar.
Anyway, it was in the year 2016, and then I looked up. They did bring some kind of dragon film out in 2016. Well, I can tell you, I've not really watched telly since 2011. I wasn't even aware of it until I Googled it. Um, and quite often I think when they're going to do something, they tell us about it beforehand by showing us things, don't they? In films, in movie, in different various medias.
Mm-hmm.
They prime us first to get us used to it. So I'm thinking they've got this film that came out. I can't remember what year. Was it 2010? And it was How to Train Your Dragon. How bizarre.
Yeah. Uh, just for the record, we are in here in 2024, the year of the dragon.
Are we? Oh, well, that's mental.
Yeah, it says the Lunar New Year will begin on February 10th, 2024, and marks the start of the year of the wood dragon.
Okay. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't ever pay a whole lot of attention to the Chinese calendars. I know there's different calendars throughout the world, but here I have to use my normal calendar that I think most of us all use. So that's all I ever pay attention to.
What about in this country? We've got St. George's Day. I think maybe you have it where you are.
What was that?
23rd of April. It's called St. George's Day.
No, we don't have that.
Okay. Well, St. George is the guy that's with the dragon over here, even though there's no dragons exist, apparently.
That's an interesting holiday. Here here
Yeah.
we have random holidays here that don't I don't know, like they've actually started changing them. Here we had Columbus Day from when he apparently discovered the new world or whatever, but now they've been getting rid of that because Columbus was kind of a giant turd. Hmm. But no, I when it comes to a lot of stuff over with the UK and everything in that general area, the history of it and everything is I've always wanted to go over there. Like I think it would be great to go take a visit over there, see a lot of things, but I've never had that opportunity. But
I
I just
went
know
to
from
Cardiff Castle.
just from what I've seen, like online and videos I've watched or whatever, it looks like it'd be a great time. But I would love to go see Stonehenge. I have no idea where it's at. I just know it's over there somewhere. But
Mhm.
I feel like there is so much history over there that for some reason, again, like the whole dragon lore that's been over there, even in ancient Chinese, they have the dragon stuff. Obviously, it's the year of the dragon. Where did
Yeah.
all where did all these come from? Like all these lores and stories and myths, or they had to originate from something. Even over here in America, we have our cryptids and we have our other things. Like something had to put in place to make these stories come out. People just can't start pulling things out of their butts and be
Well,
like,
I
something had
reckon
to have
they live
influenced it.
underground. I reckon they live underground, and that one that I saw escaped. And I think it came up through Cambrai. Honestly, I do, because I know that there's some really deep well down there, uh, down to a mine shaft. Now, it's not entirely unfeasible given what we know now that we're possibly living on a never-ending plane.
How far away are you from Loch Ness?
Loch Ness, what me right now?
I mean, like
See,
when you saw the dragon, how far away would Loch Ness be? Because again, that's another dragon looking thing. Obviously, it's in the water, but you mentioned they live in
if
the
you were
ground.
a dragon, if you were a dragon, you wouldn't be far, you wouldn't think it was far, probably.
Mhm.
About 500 miles, I do believe.
See, for us, that's not super far here in America because
No, it's not. You're right.
we
You
live in
do.
states and like some states are over 500 miles long. So for us, it's like not a big deal, I guess.
I
But
think Texas is bigger than the whole of the UK. That's incredible for me to imagine. That's
yeah,
just one.
I
Yeah.
know I drove across it once and it took a long time. It was one of the most boring drives I've ever driven to. Just a bunch of cattle, it seemed like for 6, 7 hours.
See, that's all you've seen, but you don't think you've ever seen a dragon. I've only seen one once, so I feel quite disappointed in that fact.
I don't know of too many people that can say they've actually saw a dragon, so you might be one of the few that have had that opportunity.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 2 years, and I've been looking for people that have seen
Mm-hmm.
anything that's remote like that in the sense of a lake monster or a dragon, or some people say there's still dinosaurs. Like they've seen, there's been reports in Australia that there's like still like raptor type dinosaurs out in the outback.
You know
So
something? It could be a possibility that Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, that she could be an amphibious dragon. We
that's
don't
kind
know that, do we?
that's why I was asking how far you were from Loch Ness, because there's always
Yeah.
reports of the Loch Ness monster like Nessie, and that would
Yeah.
be, it could be construed as a dragon, but maybe you said they lived underground. That's what got me thinking about it. I was like, I wonder how far away that would be because
Yeah, that
people
would
see these
make sense.
reports.
They're living in caves and things like that, and in the water hiding, part amphibious. Because I bet they fly, and I bet they're in the water as well. And who's to know that Loch Ness monster didn't have some kind of wings as well?
There's been reports for that for hundreds of years. I know they claim that the most famous photos was fake, the surgeon's photo or whatever, but it doesn't mean what people are seeing every time out there is not something real. I don't say that
Right.
everything that people see is 100% what they think they're seeing, but at the same time, I say the same thing with people that see a Bigfoot. You don't necessarily, there's no proof that Bigfoot exists that's at least
Right.
available to the public, but what are people seeing?
Mhm.
I don't think
Yeah,
they're not
it
seeing a bear.
probably. Yeah. Would you rather spend a night in the woods with the bear or a night in the cave with the dragon? That's the question.
I would, I probably wouldn't go in the cave in general, dragon or no dragon, because I am claustrophobic and I don't like being enclosed and stuff like that. So going into a cave does not sound fun at all. So I would probably take the woods.
With the bear. Good luck with that, Brandon.
There's a chance with
Yeah.
the bear I could punch him in the nose and he won't bother me. But going in the cave, I don't know what's in that cave, and I don't
Yeah,
have a better chance of surviving, I think, out in the woods than I do in a cave.
that's mental.
Hmm. That is
So I
my
think,
so
well,
that's my fears is basically I don't like to be in areas where I can't see or I feel like I'm enclosed too much or whatever. I say I'm claustrophobic. I've been in like tight spaces and I can deal with it,
yeah,
but I get very uncomfortable about it. Like I start to get sweaty and nervous. I'm like anxious. I want to get out of it. So I think I'm undiagnosed with claustrophobia.
is that from this life or from a previous life, I think?
I have no idea. I just know I've never been stuck anywhere before, but for some reason I don't like to be, if I can't, if I feel like my body's restricted, I just don't like it.
Oh, yeah. It's common, I think. Yeah, for sure. You couldn't be a dragon yourself then, Brendan.
If I'm a dragon, I'm not aware of it. It would be kind of cool if I was, though. But as far as I know, I'm just a poor old guy out here with a microphone. I'm not a dragon. But
I actually got a t-shirt the other week that said Celtic Dragons Motorcycle Club on. So I thought, I'm having that when I was out and about.
hmm,
Yeah, I'm seeing dragons everywhere, but since we organised this podcast for us to talk about it,
I feel like people, when they actually know about something, you start noticing things more often because I've noticed things too. And people can relate this with like vehicles, I guess. If you got a
yeah,
certain type of vehicle, you start noticing them all the time. Before you never noticed as many, but because you have this vehicle now, you start noticing every other vehicle like this.
yeah.
And sometimes when you start to notice certain things, not vehicle wise, but like we start talking about dragon, now you're starting to notice the dragon stuff all around. It's weird how our mind works, but I think that's just how we're kind of wired and programmed for some reason.
I think you could be correct. Yeah, so it just left me with really, really, really interested in dragons now. And I was even somebody the other day was even saying that they think cats are some kind of cross species that were related to dragons. So who knows? Who knows? But it could have been a hologram. It could have been. Who knows? We don't know, do we, for sure? But
No,
I would say it was very interesting to see it, and it really did make me think. It made me open my mind a bit, I think, actually. It made me go, it can't just be us here on this flat plane or globe or whatever you want to call it, where we are. It can't, it's too arrogant of us humans to think, but it's just us and the animals. Come on. And the insects. Yeah.
it's
I
very
think,
egotistical of us to always think that we are the most highest advanced species around. There could have been an ancient civilization of us or
yeah,
something else that have evolved billions. If they say Earth is billions of years old, how are they to
yeah.
know what could have happened billions of years ago? Civilization could have been destroyed and they've left. And maybe what these
See,
things are that come back are us from a different time. Who knows?
I think dragons could have been like, horses were land taxis and dragons were air taxis back in the day. What do you reckon,
Hmm.
Brendan?
I've often wondered when you hear the stories of how dinosaurs died off and everything else, but then you start to hear the
Uh,
stories of reptilians and the Dracos and everything. Maybe maybe that the dinosaurs themselves, not all of them died off. Maybe that's just what the cover story is, and maybe some of them continue to evolve. And after so many millions of years, 100 and something million of years of evolution, maybe these
yeah,
things were able to create a civilization, leave the catastrophic event that happened, and then they decide to come back, and now we've evolved and we're here, but maybe they live underground.
yeah. Well, can you blame them at the moment, especially?
Right. I saw
What
something
would you say
today
to that?
and it said it's this is an out there theory, but it said if you the way you can tell if someone is a reptilian is if they blink over 100
Yeah,
times in a minute.
I've seen something very similar actually. And it was almost like their pupil went sideways when it opened rather than the normal dilating circularly.
Hmm.
So I can't even explain it, and it was ultra quick. And I
Yeah.
just got this glimpse of like a slitty eye for just a nanosecond. I don't know, it really freaked me out, Brendan, honestly. I do believe it exists. I think it's some kind of like we don't quite understand it because of how we view time and space. But I definitely think some people have like this, yeah, like an overlay or yeah, for sure. Like maybe they can go in between two different dimensions, or they've got two different identities in the two different dimensions, and sometimes they cross over. Who knows?
I would tend to agree with that. That seems to be the most plausible explanation is science can prove or theoretically has proven that there's different dimensions. So
Yeah, for
I could see something be it at a different frequency, a higher frequency, and maybe they lower their frequency and come into our plane of existence. But I don't
yeah,
know
for
if
sure.
lower frequency things can raise their frequencies. I don't know how I'm not a scientist. I don't know how any of that works, but if they're vibrating at different frequencies, they should be able to bleed into our world every once in a while.
Well, and we don't know what CERN's been up to, do we? I mean, was CERN doing anything in 2016? Was that the last time they were up to anything?
I believe it was 2010, 2009 maybe is when they first started. And
Uh,
right after they did their first launch, a lot of people blame that for the Mandela effect, where people start remembering things differently. Like, and that
hmm,
that screws up with my mind sometimes too, because there's a few of those that I specifically remember, and they're apparently not what I remember, and that bothers me because I specifically remember it that way. But if you go back through the timelines of when that all became popular, it all
yeah.
coincides with when CERN started going live.
Mm,
So the theory is they somehow ripped a hole in time and space, and what we're in now is a different reality from ours, but it's only slightly different. So there's a few things change, but it's enough that some people notice it, and there's other people that don't notice it because we've all kind of got sucked into this weird different time loop.
yeah. Kind of makes sense. A bit like we're all off a little bit off kilter a little bit.
If you look at it like the butterfly effect, you could have
Oh, I
someone
love
could
that
have
film.
someone could have changed just one little thing and it had a ripple effect. Like this existence
Hmm.
here, maybe they stepped on a bug and that bug was supposed to have another bug that ended up biting someone and that person ended up being allergic and that person died. And then like it just sets off a chain of events. And
Yeah.
basically you don't
Yeah.
ever it just that's why so many little things, just little itty bitty things are different and doesn't add up to me. But again, I don't do a whole lot of diving
Well,
into
I
that
think
because you'll go crazy thinking about it.
that's interesting we talk about frequencies as well because Cambrai, which was literally where I thought I saw this dragon thing flying around in the sky, was at 22nd. It's the highest point. So there's a radio station up there actually. They actually broadcast some kind of radio from there. Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting anecdote as well. It just made me think more, but there's more to it. You know that?
If the signals that they're broadcasting are in certain different wave patterns and maybe they have those lower frequencies or the higher frequencies and somehow it could
Yeah.
possibly alter things. Now, I interviewed someone last
Maybe.
night and
Yeah.
he had mentioned like when these things come through, like he was talking about, he called them UFOs, but there were some things were almost like, I'd say paranormal too, like the shadowy figure. He said that you could feel the
Yeah.
frequency in the room would change.
Yeah, for sure.
So if they
You
have the
could,
ability to make things feel differently,
mm,
to me, that's almost a sign of they are vibrating at a different frequency or there's something going on. Like even when people talk about in paranormal instances, like if you feel a cold spot, like if they're in a corner, there's this corner's very cold. Why is it cold? Well,
mm,
lower frequencies would be more dark, more colder, more I don't know how to like that would be how I would describe like when people feel a cold spot. Like if there's some sort
mm.
of energy over here and it's a lower vibrating thing, it would be colder instead of the higher frequency vibrating, lighter, higher energy being.
I think it would be like it would make all your hairs on your arms stand on end. That kind of
Yeah.
coldness.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Even when
get you.
people it's strange, but like I think people have the abilities to sense different things. And I've made this analogy before. Like you understand and can feel when someone is looking at you from across the room because you happen to look over and then you see them staring at you and they turn their head real quickly. Well, how did you know they were staring at you? Like your body feels like you sensed it.
The higher self tells us, I believe.
So I feel like when you are sensing a presence around you, you might not see it. You might feel
No.
the energy. The room feels a little bit different. People walk into these places and oh, they feel heavy. There's like a heaviness here. Mediums do it,
Oh,
psychics do it, like they can
yeah.
feel all that energy. I think some people are just more open and susceptible to the possibilities of these different frequencies. So when someone says the room is heavy, maybe that's a
Yeah.
lot of heavy energy coming in there that they can feel. Like it's a different vibrating
Yeah.
frequency for them.
Well, I don't see why that couldn't be a possibility. I mean, some people are empaths, aren't they? So they would definitely notice something like that anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah. That's kind of
I,
how
I
I
definitely did as a child. Yeah.
there been any other instances you've dealt with other than what's a dragon that you've experienced?
Um, yeah, yeah. I saw a Pleiadian ship. Well, I was told it was a Pleiadian ship, when I was staying with a friend in Bristol. Um, it was really odd. I kind of knew that they were going to visit, and I said to my friend, "Oh, there'll be a ship out there tonight." And weirdly, there was. Guys for about 4 hours. And my friend said, "Oh, that's a Pleiadian ship." And I was like, "How do you know?" And they went, "Oh, 'cause it was blue or something like that." I, I'm open-minded. Like some people like to go into all these things and give things names. Well, I'm like, how do they? unless you physically could show somebody in a room that they were sat there talking to these people there, and I don't want to know about labels and things,
Mm-hmm.
really. But that's what they said, Pleiadian. Why they got that from, I do not know. So that's allegedly. But it had a nice feeling to it. It felt like they were watching for keeping an eye out type feeling. I woke my friend up and I said, "My God, film for me." I said, "I need to go to the toilet." I said, "I've been watching it for 10 minutes." She's going, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." She said, "All the things you told me about before." He said, "I believe you now." And then she went, when I got back from the toilet, "Right then, I'm going to bed now." And I just thought, that's the most incredible thing that you've probably ever seen in your whole life. And you just tell him, that's my cat meowing, by the way. And you're just telling me you're going to bed. It was like she was looking at it and they'd put her into a trance so that she wouldn't remember or something like that. I just thought it was bizarre. Anyway, the very, very next night, 24 hours later, I wake up in the night and I wanted a cigarette and I had a cigarette out the window. And as I was about to close the curtains, I looked out to shut the window and I saw these two shapes and they were like Christmas trees. I was looking at them thinking, what the hell are they doing standing? What are they doing in the middle of the path? And then I was thinking, Christmas tree lights. But it was two together. I thought, I'm seeing things, I'm going to bed. So I just went to sleep. And the very next morning, I physically checked where I'd seen these two trees in the middle of the pathway. And they weren't in the middle of the pathway at all. They were against somebody's wall. So now I'm thinking, what the hell? How did they get from being against the wall? This was in March time, by the way. This was in Bristol in March. This was 2 years ago, and and I thought that was just really weird, especially since it was only 24 hours after we'd seen this spaceship. Um, so I've only had about five different things happen to me like that over the space of being alive for 52 years. I think something to happen once every 10 years is probably just because I do take notice of stuff, maybe more than most people. I don't watch telly. I'm always looking up in the sky. I'm always looking on the floor for feathers and things like that and rocks. So I think it's only because I notice things more. I just happen to be looking in the sky and other people don't bother, do they? Most people are too busy on their phones or
A
stuff
lot of
like that.
people are
But yeah,
distracted.
that's the only other thing that's happened to me recently. And I was just like, yeah, that's mental. I think more and more stuff is happening to people anyway. Um, and I don't know what it meant, but it did leave me thinking we're not alone and that we're kind of protected and that we're going to be all right somehow. But I think the two Christmas tree light people were, I think they were Men in Black visiting. I have no idea what the game is. No.
I don't know
What do you
much
make of that? Do you
about.
think I'm a lunatic person?
No, I don't know what the I
It
don't know
was
what the Men in
that's a
Black
promise.
aspect to things are because you hear about that a lot, and sometimes the people that think these Men in Black are actually Men in Black, they're really not men, which is weird, but
No, but I think they're some kind of interdimensional shapeshifters
there's that
that are
aspect to
kind of
it.
like the prince of the universe.
hmm Some people
Does
say
that
that they're
make
kind of
sense?
like
They can go between.
mm, you cut out. I couldn't
Yeah.
hear what you're saying.
I went quiet, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I had the feeling that they were checking up on why they were here. Do you know that feeling? And what really made me think it was Men in Black was how ridiculous. If you were from another dimension, you would not know that Christmas trees are only ever seen on the site. They're not planted, trees are not planted in the middle of pathways in between houses. And two, the Christmas trees. It's Christmas tree. It's not like it's any kind of tree that would be all right. It was a Christmas tree. It's just ridiculous. They wouldn't know that, would they?
You
That's what
wouldn't
I was
think so.
thinking. Like, she was like thinking that how weird is that? How weird that they appear like Christmas trees because it's so blatantly wrong. They
Sometimes I've heard
wouldn't do that because they're
aspects.
visitors to the planet.
Right. I've heard stories from other people that have had experiences with these beings, and
Yeah, what have they said?
some of the things that they talked about, not so much of these people, but like what I've been told and what I've heard is they don't they try and act like normal humans, but some of the things they say doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and their actions, like their mannerisms, are weird. It's almost like
Sense.
they're trying to imitate us, but it's not really working.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was actually
Yeah, it doesn't
somewhere,
work.
there was something years ago, and I think it actually was over somewhere in the UK, but it was called Sam the Sandown Clown. Are you familiar with that?
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're cutting up a bit, my end, Brendan.
I'm here. Are you all right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Now, what I was saying
I don't know
was,
what
it said the internet connection was bad. I don't know what's going on. But
happened.
I mentioned Sam the Sandown Clown. Have you ever heard of that before?
What's that called? Sorry?
Sam the Sandown Clown. It happened, I think, in the 1960s or 70s, somewhere in the UK, but these kids supposedly came across
Hmm.
a weird looking clown down by
Oh,
a creek bed, and it didn't speak to them. And then the way they described it and everything, it was supposed to look like a clown, but it was just very weird looking. And it brought
I,
them back to its house, but its house was like this weird metal looking thing, and it never did speak to him. But like it don't like the image that I get into my mind is it was trying to produce itself in a sense of what would not make a kid afraid. Well, so it was trying to be like a happy looking, encouraging, come with me, happy clown, but it was just very strange. And then
I get it.
when they left this place, its little house or whatever, they went back and told their families, and they went down there to look for this weird, creepy clown. There was nothing there. But that always
It's
stuck
always
out to me
made
because
up.
when you hear people talk about extraterrestrials and abductions and the way they put their clothes back on, sometimes their clothes are never put on correctly. Like their clothes are inside out, or their pants were on
Yeah.
backwards or something. Like it to
Mm.
me, it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. Very strange, at least.
Yeah, it's like they don't know what our customs are. I think that's what it would be because they're not from here, are they? So they
Mm,
wouldn't, would they?
yeah, that's what I was going. Like they're trying to act like they're us and blend in, but they're awkward, so they stand out more because they're trying to be us, and they're not us. They're not used to the
Yeah,
mannerisms.
I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it's just like, it's a bit like when you put the lid on the jar of the jam and you get it off the cross thread. It's a little bit just slightly off. It's not quite right. I think that's what the dead giveaway is, that they're not from this planet or not from this world, even not from this realm.
They're tr
Yeah.
they're trying to be, but again, something slightly different that kind of gives it away.
Yeah, absolutely, every time. My cat's attacking me. What do you want?
It's almost about 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. every morning. My cat goes crazy, so it wouldn't be surprising. It's about 3 a.m.
It
your
is a
time.
full moon as well, isn't it?
Mhm.
A dragon moon as well.
Yeah, I say we have a big red moon out here tonight, so
Oh,
there-
wonderful. Yeah. The sky is quite peachy looking. It's deep purple up
uh,
here, but one
the,
side it's kind of looking like an orangey color. So that's the orange glow. That's my cat making me do that. Sorry about that.
Oh, I don't even hear it.
My little dragon. So
Well,
yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to discuss? If not, we can probably wrap this one up and I can let you get some sleep. So I know it's pretty late over there for you.
Yeah. Well, we could probably talk about what was the other thing that I was telling you about? Yeah, probably my cat sleeping on me. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, I've got a really interesting story about an MI7 agent, but it's quite a long one, and it's to do with DNA splicing and bloodlines.
If you want to talk about it, I'm ready to listen.
Oh, not right now. It's too long. It would
Okay.
take another hour, and I'm too tired for that. But if
No,
you wanted to talk another time, if you thought that we talked okay and it went okay, we could talk about that another time. Sorry, Brendan.
no, that's
You should
fine.
see my cat. It's funny. You know my cat, don't you? You've probably seen him on the internet.
No, I've seen a few pictures you've posted.
A few, yeah, just a few. Oh my God, what are you doing? See?
Well, Lynn,
Yes, love.
it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, and you. Uh,
I
we
would
never did get to the bottom of the dragon, but I definitely believe it was, and I do still wonder about it. I wonder where it is now, and wonder how whether it was a baby or an adult, or all types of things. I wonder about. I'm going to keep an open mind about it anyway, and I'm sure in the future, just like many things are being revealed, maybe we will find out that there's more to it. Woo! Than I originally thought. Ow, my poor leg. Ah, no.
Sounds like your cat's having fun with the moon out there and going crazy here at 3 a.m.
You've eaten me. Do you want me to let you out? Is that what it is? It probably is, isn't it? He wants girl cats. He's a proper male.
Well, I want to say
Okay.
thank you for talking with me tonight, and I'll definitely have you back on because I'm definitely curious now about hearing about this MI7 agent.
Okay. No, MI6 actually it was.
Okay, MI6.
I can back the whole story up as well. I've got is it evidence of him and what he's stood for on the internet, and they've actually like poo-pooed the story of him. So I think there's actually more to him as well. And he knew things about me, but I didn't even know until many years later that actually it turned out that were true.
Hmm.
And so I believe he was who he says he was because how else would he have known? These were things that my family hadn't even told me. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that could be interesting in the future to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll definitely try and get with you here soon and do a follow up. I'll try and do it
Yeah,
to
I know
where
you're very busy. You've got lots lined up.
I will do it on a maybe like a Sunday morning for me. It'll be a
Oh,
Sunday afternoon for you. That way it's not super late for you.
a compromise. Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, we'll get that scheduled here sometime soon. But again, I want to say thank you. It's been a
No
pleasure.
problem.
You've been the first person that's actually been able to talk about one of the topics that I really wanted to get into. So for that, I'm definitely appreciating of it.
Oh, which is what? Dragons.
The dragons, yep. So
Actually, there is another guy. I think I've seen him after. I know we're doing a wrap now. But I can't remember his name. He's on my Facebook page, and I think I've seen that he might have had some interaction with something. So perhaps I will go away and have a look and send you a link to him, and maybe you could do a follow up. I don't know, but yeah.
So for
Yeah,
anyone
there's,
that's
I think
listening
there's,
or anyone that's seen something like that, they can definitely get a hold of me because this is when it comes to dragons, dinosaurs, what I mentioned earlier. Like this is, I've always
I
wanted to talk
don't
about
think
it.
it's so crazy to think that if there is an ice wall there, that it was once water, and water could mean Atlantis. And it's not that far away from anyone's imaginings. And when we consider that we've been lied to about everything when everything else is a possibility, don't you think?
That is the endless possibilities of what's actually true, because I don't feel like like they don't allow us to know everything. And
Exactly.
everyone says who's they, and
All right.
if I knew who they were personally, I would say their names, but I don't know their names personally. If you know who the string pullers are, then you're obviously too connected and you better watch yourself because you're about to not be in existence. But I just feel like there's an upper echelon of
Yeah,
puppeteers
I mean,
that
there
control the
might be
world.
good reasons for us not being given the information.
Sometimes I don't think we need to know everything, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like we're kept in the dark about a lot of other stuff that doesn't really add up to
Mhm.
why we're being kept in the dark about it.
And I think, this fairy tales and Hans Grimm's fairy tales, all of that, Roald Dahl, all of those people, they do some amazing work and they talk about goblins and fairies and elves. Now, I don't just believe that they're the imaginings of people's minds.
I think
No,
there
no,
are
I think
fae
they're based
folk.
in reality.
I believe again, it all goes back to some sort of interdimensional, different frequency beings. Again, I think it's all connected one way or the other. I think aliens, the spirit realm, I think all that stuff somehow is connected with one another, and it's all because of different frequency vibrations.
Oh, I did have a DMT experience. That was amazing. I'm not going to talk about that either. That's too long as well.
That's fine. Well, I'm gonna let you go so you can get some sleep,
Okay.
and I
I'm
definitely.
still waiting, by the way. I'm still waiting on that thing I told you about before.
Oh, I don't. That's perfectly fine. It's not a big deal to me. So,
Yeah,
but
no.
no, I appreciate you talking with me tonight, and I hope you have a good rest of your night and get some sleep because I know it's late for you over there.
Yeah.
But
Good
thank
night
you.
then, brother.
No, thank you for talking with me, and thank you to everyone out there listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. But we're gonna head on out. So, good night, everybody. And that's the show, everyone. I really hope you guys enjoyed the conversations. If you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to the contact section of tinfoiltales.com. Just get your message to me. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. And just remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.
Tinfoil Tales in the headphones. Yeah, it's time to rock. Got a story about a cryptic creature. Let's take a walk. Bigfoot, dogman, they're out there in the dark. But the truth is out there like an neon spark. UFO sightings got the whole world shook. Conspiracies unfold like a story in a book. Media control, trying to keep us blind. But I won't be fooled, gonna use my own mind. In history, they don't want us to know the secrets they're hiding, the truth they won't show. Dominate our society, they keep us in chains. But I'm standing tall, it's time to break the reins. Lose control, trying to keep us blind. But I won't be fooled, gonna use my own mind. In history,